Howdy folks, welcome back to another Out of Spec Renew video, and today you join me working on yet another Tesla Model S. This one in particular is a 2013 model, and it's got a bit of a steering issue that we're going to be fixing today. It's a relatively straightforward issue and honestly a pretty inexpensive repair, but this is a known issue that sometimes gets overblown with people thinking it's a steering rack or something else, but in reality it's actually just one of the linkages in the steering. So let's go ahead and take a look at this thing and see what we're getting into. So like I mentioned there in the intro, this Model S has got a bit of a steering issue. If we hop in the car, obviously we are kind of just dry steering, but we are on nice smooth concrete, so not nearly as bad as doing it on pavement. But if I turn the steering wheel, it's very notchy. So like right there, it starts to get really stiff. I have to push past it, and then we get the same thing about 180 degrees out. So we get these stiff spots in the steering where it's much harder to turn. Like right there, we're hitting that stiff spot, and we have to push past it. So the issue here is actually just the intermediate steering shaft. I actually already took a look at this car previously, ordered parts to the customer, and he brought it back in yesterday actually for me to get the work completed on. But if we head over here, you can see we've got ourselves a brand new lower intermediate steering shaft. So the problem is the U-joint in this just gets corrosion in it, and then it starts to bind up. So you just have little bits of corrosion stuck in the bearings there, and it binds up in certain positions just from the corrosion. It's a pretty common problem. It's not super well protected in the area under the hood there, and it's just a known problem. So this end right here connects to the steering rack, which I actually happen to have an old Model S steering rack sitting on the floor right here. Fun fact, this is actually a steering rack from a right-hand drive Range Rover. It even still has Land Rover stickers on it. And you can see it says right-hand drive. In the Model S, they basically just flip it around backwards and have it mounted in a different location. So I think in a Range Rover, it would probably be mounted something like this, likely with those bolts going vertically up and down. That would be your steering shaft. But in the Model S, they mount it 180 degrees backwards and have it more angled like this, where the bolts go basically horizontal. And so that would be where your steering shaft comes in. Our linkage here attaches to the end of the shaft, just like so. And then this connects to the upper portion of the steering shaft, which goes up to the steering wheel, of course. So relatively simple to get to. We do have to pull apart the frunk to get to it, but it's not too big of a deal. And this is a pretty cheap part. You can get these aftermarket, I don't know, probably for, I want to say I only paid maybe 50 bucks for this thing. So they're pretty inexpensive, and yeah, it's not too bad of a deal. If it is an all-wheel drive car, it makes things a little bit more difficult just because you've got a lot less access. But it's still doable. On a rear-wheel drive car like this though, it's going to be pretty easy. All right, so our first step here is that we're going to want to lock our steering wheel in position so that it can't move. The easiest way to do that is to just take the seat belt. We're just going to stretch it out basically as far as we can. I'm going to wrap it around the steering wheel, and then I'm going to buckle it back in. I can't really do it one-handed here with the camera, but you get the idea. We're going to wrap it through the steering wheel, buckle it in, and then I'll probably scoot the seat all the way back as far as it goes, and that'll put some pressure on the steering wheel so that when we take the shaft off, it's not going to spin around too easily. And that way we'll be able to make sure that it gets indexed properly and doesn't have any issues with that. This shouldn't affect the alignment because it's not a splined shaft or anything. The way that this goes together, it only goes on one way on this side. So that part can only go on in one direction. The other way, it can only go one of two ways, which of course the opposite direction would be 180 degrees out from where it's supposed to be. So it's not like you can really get it wrong. And yeah, it should be pretty straightforward here. Okay, our steering wheel is nice and locked in there. We've got some tension on the seat belt, so that's not going to move too easily. And now we just have to go ahead and take apart our plastics and stuff under the frunk in order to get to that steering shaft. Okay, so we've got all of the carpet and everything out of the frunk. I also got the connectors here at the very front unplugged. And now we're going to go ahead and first pull out this, whatever you want to call it, frunk extension, I guess. So we've just got a handful of fasteners here to pull that off. All right, and I'm just going to leave all the fasteners in there. Just give that a little bit of a tug, and there we can get the whole frunk tub out. Or rather, the frunk extension tub, I guess. Now that linkage that we're going for is actually right back there, so we don't really have to take the rest of the frunk out. It might make access a little bit easier, but honestly, I don't think it's going to make that much of a difference. All right, I've got you guys tucked back in a spot where hopefully you'll be able to see what's going on pretty decently. But that right there is our linkage that we're replacing. Actually, let me go grab the old one so that we're ready to go. Or rather, the new one so that we're ready to go. And essentially, I'm just sitting in the frunk here, and I've got you guys positioned back where that frunk extension would have been. This is actually the top of the battery pack right there. But yeah, so that's where our steering linkage goes. It's just right there. So we're going to be replacing that one with the new one. And make sure that if you are doing this, that you order the right version, because there are two different variants. The newer cars use a longer intermediate steering shaft than these older cars do. So that's just a little something to be aware of. We're just going to loosen that bolt. And actually, I'm probably just going to completely remove it because I'm going to have to reuse it on the new one. Okay, there's that bolt out. And then we've got other fastener that goes through here. This one is a bolt and a nut. So I might have to, nope, I guess I didn't need a wrench on that because it comes off nice and easy. At least the bolt isn't super corroded. So there's our nut. And then we can pull out the bolt. And now to get this off, we're basically going to try and push the linkage up into the upper shaft here. So we have to push it out of here. And this is where things get a little bit tricky because the corrosion in here might be causing some rust jacking that might make it not want to be able to move super easily. I can already tell it's going to put up a fight. Let me grab a hammer. That way we can do a little bit of percussive maintenance on this thing. And I might grab, I'll grab one of these. So this big screwdriver, I might be able to stick into this hole. And give it a little bit of pressure. I might have grabbed one that was too big though. And then on this end, try the hammer method. Okay. So we are getting movement, but it's actually moving the whole steering shaft inside of the cabin, which I don't really like. So let me see if I can get some penetrating oil in that and maybe grab a different tool and see if we can get this end to break free. Just kind of want to give it some vibration so that it will hopefully break free. Still doesn't want to break free from that end, but we do have the bottom end freed up at least. Well, we might have to try and get some heat on that. I guess I can grab my propane torch and see if that'll get it to loosen up. All right, I'm going to carefully apply some heat to this thing, just with a little propane torch here. We don't want to melt or damage anything. Just trying to heat it up enough that maybe it'll expand and allow that to kind of break free. Okay, we've removed that. Let's see if so far I seem to be getting nowhere with it. Oh, there we go. Bingo. Old one's out. As you can see, we got a wee bit of corrosion there. But that doesn't matter because we can get our new one in. And actually, now that I think about it, I think even this end can only go in one way because it actually has this little notch. And then we should be able to kind of tap that one into place. Okay. I think I've got it properly lined up there. Where hopefully our bolt should go in. Look at that. So we've got a bolt in. I'm not gonna go too crazy tightening it up just yet. I just want to get it started so that we can push this in without it creating a problem. There we go. So we'll push that in, and then we'll pull it back down onto the other end. Just got to kind of wiggle it into place. I think I've got about another maybe half an inch to go. Boom. I think we're in. Boom. Alrighty. Fresh new lower intermediate shaft is installed. Now we can go ahead and get everything put back together. Alright, now I wanted to show you guys just how stiff this lower intermediate shaft is. So this way, it moves freely. No problems there. But the other way, I can't even move it at all by hand. I mean, that thing is seriously stuck. So that's why it was notchy. So when the shaft is facing in this direction, we're able to turn it easier. But as the shaft gets closer to that 90-degree point, it starts to bind up because it's so hard for it to rotate this other way. And the fact that I can't even move it by hand like this is pretty telling, just how stiff that thing was. So anyway, this is a known problem. It's basically just corrosion and stuff that gets in the little bearing caps on this U-joint. You could probably rebuild one of these with a new little U-joint piece, but honestly, the whole assembly is so cheap, it wouldn't even be worth trying to do that. But yeah, so that thing's trash. And now we can put the rest of the frunk together. So I just realized it was kind of a waste of time for me to remove the outer plastic panels. Didn't really need to do that just to remove this tub in the frunk, but I'm so used to doing that for most of the repairs that I do on these cars, which is usually high voltage system repairs where you got to disconnect the 12 volt and the interlock loop, that it usually it's the first thing I do by default. So anyway, we'll go ahead and get this thing bolted back in here. These ones are a special bolt actually that it's like a double-ended bolt. And that's how there's a little plastic nut that goes on the end of these to hold a cargo net. This one doesn't seem to have the cargo net. Either it's missing or not installed or whatever, but it's designed so that you can put a cargo net in here so you can put stuff back there and not have to worry about it sliding around everywhere. Bingo. Now we can get our side panels in. And I guess I didn't have to unplug this stuff either, because I was assuming that I was going to need to pull the whole frunk out, but not really necessary for the old rear-wheel drive cars like this one. There we go. Not too bad. And we've got our little upper piece here, which the little Velcro tabs on these always come off. They're supposed to be bonded to the frunk tub, but I don't think I've ever seen one where they all stay attached to it. Nice. And we've got carpet in the bottom and our little cargo net knobs. Fantastic. All right, let's hop back in this thing and make sure our steering is nice and smooth. I mean, it should be. We'll unbuckle our seat belt there. Oh yeah. Nice and smooth. Fantastic. So yeah, I guess all that's left to do is maybe to take this thing for a little test drive, make sure that the alignment doesn't feel like it's off or anything. It should still be fine. But yeah, awesome. Taking this thing just for a short little test drive, make sure the steering wheel tracks straight and that we're not pulling to one, or well, I mean, obviously we didn't affect the alignment, but we might have affected the angle of the steering wheel in relation to the alignment. So we just want to make sure that everything's good there. And as of right now, I would say that it appears to be the case. We're tracking straight. And yeah, so the car follows a straight line down the road with the steering wheel in the forward position. So I think we're good. I'm going to go ahead and get this thing back to the shop, let the customer know it's ready to go, and they should be ready to hit the road without a binding up steering wheel. Well, folks, that's going to be it for this one. Pretty straightforward, easy repair. Just that lower steering shaft, and of course it was causing the steering to hang up. Of course, the sketchy part of that was that the steering wheel wouldn't automatically return to center. Like normally, you know, if you release your pressure on the steering wheel from turning, and it should return back to center. With this issue, it wouldn't return to center. The wheels would just remain turned in whatever position you left them in, essentially, and then it wouldn't be able to return to center again. So besides, of course, the notchiness with the steering, it's also a bit of a safety concern. But now it's all addressed and no alignment required, so this guy should be good to go. And yeah, hopefully he can continue to drive the car without any more, at least similar issues to that down the road. Anyway, as always, thanks for watching.